Now, 6 months ago, Vince McMahon fired Zelina Vega for breach of contract over her refusal to shut down her third-party endeavors with websites like Twitch and OnlyFans. They had put that policy in place, and they gave talent about 30 days to discontinue them or surrender their logins to the company, and she resisted doing so, and she found out that she was shit-canned when she got to the building for SmackDown, and Vince McMahon would not even take a meeting with her to discuss things. When she asked to speak with him, he wouldn't even meet with her. That then led to her, the same day after she got the news, putting a tweet out endorsing the idea of unions and unionization. And later on, she spoke with the Screen Actors Guild, which claimed, oh, we're very interested in assisting professional wrestlers. In fact, this is what the SAG-AFTRA president, Gabrielle Carteris, had to say at that time about all of this. She said, wrestling is as much about media as it is sports. And we are going to directly engage with members of this profession to help find ways for them to protect themselves. As more people reinvest in unions and as more working people are harassed by employers who don't want to protect them, SAG-AFTRA is committed to doing what we can to help professional wrestlers secure the protections they deserve. Oh, yeah. It also led to Andrew Yang taking an interest in the story and speaking out about, if he was either going to be the Secretary of Labor under Biden, or if he wasn't, he would know who the person was. He would have their ear about the independent contractor classification nonsense for all of Vince McMahon's talent. And it's not just Vince McMahon. I mean, obviously, they're classified as independent contractors in other promotions as well. But he was so vocal about this on Twitter. He even went on some wrestling podcasts. I think he talked to Chris Van Vliet and he talked to some other wrestling websites because he's a wrestling fan. He's talking about Macho Man against Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. That's great. That's great. He's a wrestling fan. Congratulations. So am I. But he's out there at the time. Oh, I haven't forgotten about you, Vince McMahon. Right? All of this bluster from these people. Here we are 6 months later. Not only has nothing happened, and they haven't even been tweeting. Oh, they were tweeting about it all the time back then. They don't even tweet about it anymore. Not only that, this week we learned per Fightful.com that Zelina Vega was spotted at the WWE Performance Center on Thursday. And according to Wrestling Inc., there have been plans for her return to television dating back even before WrestleMania. So, while no official announcement has been made, I cannot sit here and say that Zelina Vega is back, or coming back for sure to WWE. Boy, it sure does look that way. She was apparently at the PC this week filming stuff with Simone Johnson, the daughter of The Rock, who has been training at the PC going back to last year. The two of them are very good friends. Simone has had issues with her knees popping out of place. She had her third knee surgery in September. She's only 19 years old. She's had 3 knee surgeries already. Now, what they were filming for is not known. I saw a lot of derogatory comments online about Vega for going back to WWE after all of the unionization talk, how she could have led the charge and instead she sold her soul. And I applauded her back in November when this all went down for taking a stand for what she believes in. She was very passionate about having the ability to, make money on these platforms, and very passionate about her Twitch, which somebody told me, I don't even think she's been active on Twitch now for over a month. Is that true? Because if that's the case, that probably should have been a sign right there. But at the time, I had a lot of respect for her taking the stance that she did. But money talks. I said as much when I talked about it on Sound Off 678. I said a few things. There will never be a pro wrestling union. It's just not going to happen. You need strength in numbers for something like that, and you will never, ever have the numbers or the names that you need to really make a change. When Zelina Vega got fired, did anybody else in the company stand up and say anything? Nope. Paige, I guess you could say Paige was vocal about it. I guess she must have worked out her issues with the company because she's still under contract with them and she's on Twitch. I don't know what happened there. But Paige is not active. Paige used to be a big name for a while on the main roster. She was very popular, and she still is, but she's not actively on the roster. Who else in that company who's active on the roster with a big name or even a middle-of-the-road kind of big name stood up and came to her defense or stood up and was vocal about this issue? Because we saw report after report after report from all these different websites. Oh, the talent in WWE, they're so upset about this. Not just about what happened to Zelina, but about this whole edict that Vince McMahon passed along. They're very upset. There's a lot of anger behind the scenes and a lot of confusion from the talent in the company, and people are really upset about this. How many people stood up publicly and said anything? None. None of them did. That's my point. So when you think about change, how do you affect change in a situation like that? You do it through strength in numbers. And if you can throw one or two really big names in there along with everybody else, boy, would that help out a lot. You've never seen it because it's never going to happen. Because everybody in that company is at least happy enough with what they're making or with their spot on the card, and they don't want to rock the boat. And maybe they're worried about the same thing, that if I say something, boy, I sure would love to. And maybe a few other people told me, hey, if you do it first, I'll do it too. But nobody trusts that if they are vocal about it, that there's going to be enough people who are vocal with them. And they don't want to be the only person who stands up and raises their hand, because then they get fucked. And everybody else just kind of sits there and stays quiet. So you can kind of understand why. WWE has something that no other promotion has, with the exception, I guess, of AEW, because it's also owned by a billionaire. Although he's a billionaire on a budget, he claims. What does WWE have lots of? Money. Even without the live crowds now for over a year, okay, forget WrestleMania. They've gone a year plus without live crowds for their weekly shows. Even without that, which used to be the lifeblood of the company. It used to be about the gate. It used to be about ticket sales. It's not about that anymore. Even without that, they're making more money than ever before in the history of the company. Zelina Vega alone was never going to create the change that people envisioned. I still don't have a good answer as to why pro wrestlers cannot join the SAG union if they wanted to. But nothing has happened in these 6 months. People forget. It's on to the next news cycle. And in the end, they always end up back with Vince. So I don't begrudge the woman for trying to make a living. But isn't it a weird coincidence that the same week we learn of Zelina Vega's potential impending WWE return, PW Insider announces that the company has shut down its new talent management group, which I guess was a Nick Khan idea, where WWE would basically have an entire department in-house to manage these third-party bookings and sponsorships for the talent so that they can have control over it and take their cut. It existed for all of a month and has already been disbanded. It has already been shut down. No reason yet as to why. Nick Khan learning very fast that plans change in the world of Vince McMahon.